Hey Switchers, Kanan here and welcome to my review of Smart Moves. Described as a combination between puzzle and turn-based mechanics with a little bit of roguelike in there, just for fun, where you have to open chests and destroy monsters in order to survive. Brought to us by TERNOX that also brought us all these other games. And so let's get this party started, shall we? So after we get past that title screen, we enter our map come hub type thing area. And there all the levels that you've unlocked will be shown, and basically you need to go and gain these keys, and it starts with like only a few keys needed to open up new levels, and then it ramps up to, as you can see, a lot more keys are needed now. So let's jump into a level and let's see what the gameplay is actually like. Okay, so putting it into basics, you take a move, they take a move, so every time you move, they move, and you have to match your moves so that you're actually standing on the tile next to them so that you can stab them. Otherwise, if you're not and you come into the square at the same time. Adding to that, as you get further in the levels, you get spikes, you get wizards, you get burning totems that keep multiplying as you move around as well, adding to the difficulty. All of this, apart from the spikes, can all be killed or destroyed as long as you're not caught by them or caught on the same square as them. And nicely later on in the levels you are given checkpoints, and this is very useful. But the main thing that you'll be trying to do is open up all the chests, and once you've opened up all the chests, and then and only then you'll be able to move on to the next level, and also unlock those all important extra stages to progress in the game. So the game contains different levels and it has different stages, each of them more or less, yeah, they are kind of different from each other, and as you progress different mechanics start to happen, like the spikes and the totems and things like that. Each stage or level or whatever you want to call it is a static screen that you move around in like a grid based type way, and the gameplay is pretty basic, but as a puzzler it actually works really well. I didn't really enjoy the first few levels, they weren't as good to me as the later ones, but as soon as the actual difficulty and the mechanics came out, it ramped up that gameplay and really felt intuitive by then, and it did feel kind of fair. All the mistakes I was making felt like they were mine. There were a couple of minor control issues, like it wouldn't respond as quickly, and then other times it would respond a bit too quickly, but you can use the actual analog stick or the D-pad for your controls. The D-pad seems to move you one space at a time, whereas you can make him move really quickly or quicker using the actual analog stick. Graphically it's very retro style, one might say. All the snakes and all have fangs that you can see bludgeoning your character, and it all looks pretty neat. Everything looks like it should look. As for sound, well, sound is most of the sounds are, as you can hear, pretty basic, but it's the actual music that I did actually enjoy in this game. It was very unexpected. I didn't expect to have this sort of music in this game, and yeah, it was well appreciated, let's put it that way. The difficulty of the level was pretty good. As I said before, the start of it I didn't really enjoy until I got a few levels past the beginning of the game, and it ramped up and it felt a lot better. Some kind of a little bit too ramped up, but I think that's the point in these games, is the fact they have to get more difficult, and there has to come to a point where I guess you have to sit there scratching your head trying to think your way out of these situations. So yeah, I'm thinking they've done a really good job in that respect. I liked the way that each stage looked different, which was a plus. You know, they could have just gone for something that looked slightly different, but they didn't. They went for all out difference-ness. The creatures they do look different, but it's kind of like they all more or less do the same, so they all might as well just be the same animation, although that would be boring, I know. But my point is they all do the same thing realistically if you think about it. It doesn't really destroy or hurt the gameplay, it's still a fun game. I like the fact they've added things like wizards that create little bugs and all that can come after you. That's a nice little touch. And I think for a game that's just a tad above £5, I think you get quite a bit of content here and some real good puzzles to try and solve. I have to admit I'm struggling to find what the roguelike is within this game, but that might be purely down to my definition of what a roguelike is. Now, I rate games out of 5, and these are my own personal views and personal takes on the actual game, and I'm going to give Smart Moves a 3 out of 5. For the price of the game, the puzzles were great. I liked the music, and the graphics were that retro side of things, and there's nothing bad about that. The gameplay was definitely there and it had it in spades. I just found it just lacked a few, I don't know, something to take it up an extra notch. It certainly had that one more go feeling about it, and it's a game that I'll probably go back to again at a later date. I think it just lacks something to make me go back straight away. It's an above average game, it's just not a perfect above average game, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's definitely worth £5 out of anyone's pocket. So are you going to pick this one up, or are you going to leave it and not bother? It's certainly something a little bit different and you don't see it all the time. Let me know down in the comments, because well, that's what they're there for. And consider hitting that like and subscribe button, and especially that subscribe button, and become part of the Switchheads family and growing community, because life's better when we switch together.